battle? We lost it there, phone call. Why are you at battle? Because there's a concept that you're trying to understand, and it's hidden inside of the words of the Aramaic words over there. You're saying, wait a second. Well, Rabbi Akiva says this, but the Chacham say this. How are they getting both of those things out of the same pasuk? How can they possibly argue with each other? What are the reasons of Rabbi Akiva? What are the reasons of the Chachamim? The thing you're trying to get to is unclear. And you're fighting, basically, trying to remove the blockages of your mind to produce the victory of understanding the concept.
We're trying to find out why they said what they said. Because they're all abstract principles.
Sometimes it's abstract principles, but sometimes it's just a simple law they're trying to find out, right? But the point is, you're right, you're trying to figure out why they say what they say, and at first you don't know.
So we actually, if you can read between the lines of why they said what they said, you'll be able to derive what is the premise of the whole thing, what's the theory of the whole thing.
That's true, but that takes toil. Right? Even the greatest sages, right, who read the Gemara, the whole way that it's written is in such a way that it doesn't lay out for you like you read the Rambam or you read even the Gemara Yerushalmi. It lays out for you much more clearly that this is what we're talking about. This is this law, this is that law, this is this law. In the Gemara, Bavli also comes from the lashon of like bilbul. It's like a confusion. It's written in such a way intentionally to confuse you. It starts off with something, and then later on it's going to say, but we didn't mean that. We actually meant this. You say, why didn't you tell me in the first place? Right? Because it's meant to confuse you. Because you're fighting a war. And that war is important. What's the war really going on? Why are the sages wasting our time, so to speak, with having us fight this war? Because when you fight the war, you're constantly removing blockages. And what you're ultimately doing is you're actually revealing light from within darkness. And they wrote it in such a way that it starts off dark so that you can bring light out of darkness. The whole thing is a war. Chassidus is not like that. Chassidus doesn't work like that. Chassidus, you right away start talking about godliness, and it's not written in a way where it's meant to confuse you. It's written in a way where it's very revelatory. It's just showing you light. It's trying to explain right off the bat a concept and bring you into a place of revelation. So that it's a different type of Torah. It's a Torah which is called Ishapcha, as opposed to Iskafi. Iskafi means to subdue the enemy, basically. Which means you're trying to bring out light in a way of war, in a way of basically overcoming the darkness. But the darkness is still an enemy. It's just that you're eking out the light from it. As opposed to taking a concept and transforming the darkness itself into light. That you're basically turning the whole conversation into a conversation about God, which is what Chassidus is. Even after you're finished talking about it, so you've gained for yourself an intellectual concept. But in Chassidus, it's not just an intellectual concept; it's a concept about God.
The brain has to be challenged. If the brain cannot be challenged, it cannot be expanded. The brain has cells that there's blocks here. There's viruses, and the only way that these viruses, all of these, can be expanded a different level of consciousness is to dig in.
Sometimes there's two ways actually to heal those things, right? You can either sort of go and deal with it. It's like in healing, you can take care of the problem and sort of try and work on it and do surgery and so forth. Or there's also kind of like the holistic model, where if you just like sort of bring light and heal the whole organism, the problem automatically goes away by itself. If you shine a different light on the matter, right, then all of a sudden sometimes your problems can just disappear. There's a famous story actually by the Alter Rebbe. In the times when the Hasidic movement was getting off the ground, there was tremendous opposition, as is known. And all the great leaders of Lithuania came, and each one had questions because they were going to make a big public debate, basically, right? And they were going to bring the Alter Rebbe like to trial almost and say like, listen, we all have different concerns that we think that your movement is against Judaism for this, Y, and X, Y, and Z. And we've all prepared deep questions, first of all, to test you, because here you are presenting this new movement into the world, like who are you, Bichlal? And secondly, to challenge the movement itself. So they all came with their questions, and the Alter Rebbe was like the Alter Rebbe, Tzaddik Gamor, knew in the soul, right, this perfect being, basically. He came and he said, before we start, I just want to start off with a niggin, basically. So he sang a niggin, And somehow with the sweetness of the niggin or whatever, the melody, all the people didn't have their questions anymore. And this is the same concept that we just discussed, basically. Exactly, right? If you're fighting a war, then the only way to deal with it is to go digging down inside of it and play with it and get into the darkness and mess around, get yourself dirty with it and sort of deal with the darkness. If you come with just a higher perspective, then suddenly you bring a new vision to the world, all those problems went away. You have it even in like the natural sciences. All these problems that you could have, let's say in Newtonian physics or something like this. And you have problems that you can't answer. Someone comes with just a bigger theory, right? He doesn't even address any more of those particular questions. His theory just automatically answers all those questions. You don't have any questions anymore. Because he's just bringing a higher version of truth to the table. That's what Hasidus is. It just transforms the darkness into light without even fighting with it. So this is the concept. And in doing so, they have these two concepts, basically. You have Skafi and Izhacha, but both of them can only be accomplished in this world because you have to be in a place of darkness in order to transform darkness. And that's why it's better 1 hour in this world than all the light in the world to come. Because over there you don't have this quality of being able to transform darkness. There's no darkness to begin with. When all day long you're dealing with physicality, with the burdens of making a living, which is called choshech, that's called darkness. But then here's how it works. In other words, we have yet to describe actually how this bothersome life that we have over here of dealing with all of our problems elevates us. It comes from this word, umisbonin, acharkach. And then you deal with all your schleppy life, but then you take a moment to reflect and meditate afterwards in davening. How really there's not even a blade of grass down below in this world that doesn't have a mazel above it which strikes it and tells it to grow. That every single thing that happens is the hashgacha pratis, the overall Hashem watching and overseeing the details of every single thing, and nothing is by chance. And you meditate basically upon the root of this darkness. Like what, in other words, you can transform all these bothersome thoughts and realize that every single one of them is coming from Hashem. It's not just darkness for its own. When you meditate upon the darkness, upon each and everything, and realize that it's all Hashem speaking to you in an intense way, like He's throwing the flood upon you, when you recognize that this is godliness talking, so then what you're doing is you're transforming these floodwaters and making it come to light that this itself is also God. The darkness itself is also light. He's going to clarify this much more, this concept. Okay, but anyway, I think we're going to hold here for the day. Okay, shukayach.